Have you ever wondered how ASEAN countries benefit from working together economically? Today, we will be presenting the ASEAN Economic Community, or AEC, and its benefit to ASEAN member countries. In this capitalist world, the economy has been one of, if not the most essential foundation that determines a nation's survival in a competitive, value-driven global stage. It is not merely numbers or statistics, but a basis for development of a nation that will contribute to its prosperity and stability. With a robust economy, a nation is able to provide its people with employment and equip the government with sufficient resources that will fuel the cycle of growth. Constant development will draw in local and also foreign investors, giving a place for the nation in the global economic setting. These strategic ambitions have been the principal reasons of why the leaders of ASEAN created AFTA, ASEAN Free Trade Area, in 1992, which then became the foundation for the establishment of ASEAN Economic Community, AEC, later in 2015. With the adoption of ASEAN Vision 2020 in 1997, followed by the Hanoi Plan of Action, and finally the declaration of ASEAN Concord II in 2003, established the ASEAN Community that was focusing on three pillars, one of them being economic cooperation. After the AEC Blueprint 2015 was adopted in 2007, AEC Blueprint 2025 was immediately developed to further set the directions for economic integration among ASEAN member states. AEC Strategic Plan 2026-2030 now holds the future as a part of ASEAN 2045, Our Shared Future, introducing 6 strategic goals. Fundamentally, AEC conceptualized the idea of economic integration between multiple neighboring nations under ASEAN, where a single competitive market and product base exists to develop the economy of every member, as it becomes the major player in the global economy. The intention behind it is to create a stable, prosperous, and highly competitive economic region that is ready for the future and highly capable as a global supply chain. To achieve this, AEC sets out the plan and initiative to develop production networks, create stronger intra-ASEAN trade and investment in multiple sectors, developing the micro, small, and medium enterprises (SMEs) while engaging actively with private sectors. It also aims to utilize and contribute to the advancement of modern technology, as well as ensuring effective implementation of the plan among the members through consistent monitoring and evaluation activities. This presentation will further delve into the main factors that lead to the establishment of AEC, as well as the impacts of it to the members of ASEAN.
Next, the AEC is built on 4 main objectives, which I will explain along with relevant example. First, the AEC aims to create a single market and production base. This means ASEAN countries allow the free flow of goods, service, investment, skill labor, and capital within the region. As a result, business can expand more easily across borders and production becomes more efficient. A key example is the ASEAN Vision 2020. This vision outlined ASEAN goal to become a more integrated and competitive region, forming the foundation for the AEC. Next, the AEC aims to be a highly competitive economic region. This is done by creating a business-friendly environment, encouraging innovation and adopting common standards and policy among members' countries. This helps attract investment and improve productivity across the region. For example, the Hanoi Plan of Action introduced specific initiatives to promote economic cooperation and integration among ASEAN countries. The third objective is to ensure equitable economic development. This means reducing the development gap between member countries and supporting small and medium enterprises, or SME, so they can participate in regional and global markets. An important example is the declaration of ASEAN Concord II. This declaration emphasized the establishment of the ASEAN community and highlight the importance of inclusive and balanced growth. Finally, the AEC aims to make ASEAN fully integrated into the global economy. This involves strengthening relationships with external partners and increasing ASEAN participation in global supply chain. Through coordinated trade policy and partnership, ASEAN is able to compete more effectively at the international level. In conclusion, the AEC focused on 4 key goals: creating a single market, building a competitive region, promoting equitable development, and integrating into the global economy. These efforts help ASEAN become a stronger and more unified economic region.
Next, I'll be moving on to the benefit of the ASEAN Economic Community, or AEC. The AEC's aim to create more integrated and competitive economic region among the ASEAN members countries. It promotes cooperation and economic growth by reducing trade barriers and improving national connectivity. The first benefit of the ASEAN Economic Community is easier trade between the countries. The AEC reduces tariffs and simplifies custom procedures through agreements such as the ASEAN Trade in Good Agreements, or ATIGA. As a result, businesses can move their product across border and more efficient and at a lower cost. This leads to a faster delivery of goods, reduced productions, and also transportation expenses. For example, in Malaysia, Thailand's automotive industries, vehicle parts can cross border with a little or no tariff. The ASEAN single windows also allow customs documents to be processed electronically, reducing delays and making trade more efficient. The second benefit is greater mobility of skilled workers. The AEC had qualified professional work more easily in the different Asian countries. This creates more employment opportunities and help address skill shortage in certain industries. Asian's Mutual Recognition Agreement (MRA) allow professional qualification earned in ASEAN countries, enabling skilled workers to work across the border. In September 2023, government workers and employee representatives from the Asian member states convened to share updates and explore recommendations on how further to promote mutual recognition of skills (MRS), especially the free flow skilled workers in the regions. It also encouraged the sharing of knowledge, expertise, and the best practice among the Asian member states, which strengthened the regional workforce development. Professionals covered under MRA, such as the engineering, architectures, nursing, and also accountancies. For example, under the Asian Charter Professional Engineering Framework, a qualified engineer from Malaysia can easily work on projects in countries such as Singapore and Vietnam, which is this support professional growth and regional cooperations. The third benefit is increase in foreign direct investment (FDI). Foreign investment bring capital, technologies, and job opportunity into the Asian countries. In 2023, ASEAN attracted a record amount of FDI, showing a stronger investment confidence in the regions. A good example is Samsung investment in Vietnam. Samsung has invested billions of dollars in the country and has become one of the largest foreign investors there. Due to that, Samsung directly employs over 112,000 workers in Vietnam. Significant increase in Vietnam export earnings and also transfer of advanced technology and skill to the local workers. This investment has created thousands of jobs, increased export earnings, and provide local workers with access to advanced technology and valuable skill. The final benefit is stronger small and medium enterprise (SMEs). ASEAN support SMEs through a various programs that focus on productivity, digitalization, innovation, and access to financing through the Asian Strategic Action Plan for SMEs Development 2016 and to 2025. This initiative helps small businesses become more competitive and expand beyond their domestic markets. For example, platforms such as Shopee and Lazada enable SMEs to sell products across Asian countries. A small business in Malaysia can reach customers in Indonesia, Thailand, and other Asian markets through a single one platform. This creates more growth opportunity and contribute to overall economic development of the regions. Together, these benefits contribute to economic growth, regional cooperations, and improve competitive within the Asians.
Next, I will continue by discussing the issue and challenges of the Asian economic community. Although the AEC has helped strengthen economic cooperation and create more opportunities among Asian member countries, there are still several challenges that affect its overall effectiveness. In this section, I will focus on four major challenges, which are the development gap among member countries, the persistence of non-tariff barriers, limited labor mobility, and the uneven distribution of benefits. One challenge of the AEC is the development gap among member countries. ASEAN consists of countries with different levels of economic development, which means not every country has the same ability to benefit from economic integration. More developed countries usually have better infrastructure, more advanced technology, stronger industries, and a more skilled workforce. Because of these advantages, developed countries are often more successful in attracting foreign investors and expanding businesses across the ASEAN market. Meanwhile, developing countries may experience slower growth because they have fewer resources and lower competitiveness. A real-life example is Singapore compared to Laos and Cambodia. Singapore has a high developed economy, efficient transportation systems, a strong financial sector, making it attractive for foreign companies to invest there. On the other hand, Laos and Cambodia still face challenges in infrastructure and industrial development, which can limit their ability to attract the same level of investment. Another challenge is the persistence of non-tariff barriers, or also known as NTBs. Although ASEAN has reduced import tariffs between member countries, businesses still face other restrictions that make trading difficult. These barriers include different product standards, import licenses, packaging rules, testing requirements, and custom procedures. Because of each country has different regulations, businesses may need additional time and money to comply before entering another market. An example can be seen in food exports within ASEAN. Even when tariffs are low, food exporters still need to follow different packaging, labeling, testing, and certification requirements in each country. For example, food products entering another ASEAN market may require additional sanitary or technical approvals before being sold. This increases business costs and slows down regional trade, making ASEAN's goal of a single market harder to achieve. The third challenge is limited labor mobility. One objective of the AEC is to allow skilled workers to work across ASEAN countries more easily. However, in practice, this movement is still restricted. Different countries have different qualification systems, professional license, immigration procedures, and language requirements. Because of these differences, workers cannot automatically work in another ASEAN country, even if they are already qualified in their home country. An example, it involves engineers in ASEAN. Under ASEAN agreements, engineers can apply through the ASEAN Chartered Professional Engineer Framework. However, they still need approval and recognition from the destination country before they are allowed to practice professionally. This means labor mobility exists, but it is not completely free and still involves administrative requirements. The final challenge is the uneven distribution of benefits from the economic integration. Although the AEC creates new opportunities for businesses and economic growth, not everyone benefits equally. Large companies usually have greater financial resources, stronger supply chains, and more experience operating internationally. This allows them to expand into regional markets more easily. In contrast, small medium-sized enterprises, or SMEs, often have limited capital and fewer resources to compete. An example is how large regional companies can expand operations across multiple ASEAN countries, while many local SMEs continue focusing only on domestic markets due to financial and operational limitations. As a result, the benefits of integration may be concentrated among larger businesses and stronger economies, which could increase inequality across the region.
Now, let us take a look at the lesson learned from ASEAN Economic Community. So there are 4 lessons learned that we have taken from this whole case study. The first one is economic integration must be inclusive. The second one is stronger policy coordination is essential. The third one is trade barriers need continuous reduction. And the fourth one is enhancing human capital and labor mobility. Okay, so the first lesson learned is that economic integration must be inclusive. So ASEAN needs to ensure that less developed member countries receive adequate support and opportunities to participate in regional growth. So we're talking about economic cooperation that should benefit all ASEAN members, not only on stronger economies countries such as Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and so on. So this is really important to reduce the development gap within the region. And the second lesson learned is that stronger policy coordination is really essential. ASEAN countries must improve their coordination and commitment in implementing agreed economic policies. So effective execution of regional initiatives is necessary to ensure that economic integration achieves its intended goals and helps reducing disparities among member states. Now, the third lesson learned is trade barriers need continuous reduction. Although tariffs have been lowered under the AEC, non-tariff barriers or NTBs, it still hinders trade activities among Asian countries. Therefore, ASEAN should strengthen transparency, harmonize regulation, and improve trade procedures to facilitate smoother cross-border trade and economic cooperation. The fourth and last one is human capital and labor mobility should be enhanced. So ASEAN countries should improve their recognition of professional qualification and continue developing workforce skills. Greater labor mobility can allow skilled workers to contribute more effectively across the region while supporting balanced and sustainable economic growth. So all in all, the ASEAN Economic Community actually demonstrates that successful regional cooperation requires inclusiveness, strong policy implementation, continuous trade facilitation, and investment in human capital so they can ensure that all members countries in ASEAN can benefit from economic integration. In conclusion, the ASEAN Economic Community (AEC) has become a significant platform for strengthening economic cooperation and regional integration among ASEAN member states. Established with the vision of creating a single market and production base, the AEC has successfully enhanced trade, attracted investment, increased the mobility of skilled labor, and supported the growth of businesses across the region. While the AEC has brought many benefits, it also faces challenges such as development gaps between member countries, limited labor mobility, and the persistence of non-tariff barriers. These challenges highlight the importance of continuous improvement, stronger policy coordination, and more inclusive economic development to ensure that all ASEAN members can benefit equally from regional integration. Ultimately, the AEC has demonstrated that cooperation is the foundation of ASEAN's success. By working together, ASEAN countries can strengthen their competitiveness, overcome shared challenges, and build a more resilient, prosperous, and sustainable future for the entire. That is all from us. Thank you for your time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.